Okay, so now we are going to be completing your top stitch and your edge stitching samples. You're going to need pattern piece 17A and 17B. Looking at the information on these two pattern pieces, you can see it's telling you to cut 2 of 17A and 2 of 17B. You will use one of each for your edge stitch and one of each for your top stitch. To start, we're going to use 2 different colors so that you can see what we're doing a little bit easier. You are going to create a plain seam first. Your plain seam is 5/8 of an inch. You will be back stitching. So go ahead and start with a couple stitches, back stitch, and then go forward. You're keeping your focus right out here because that's going to help you keep a nice straight stitch. As you come to the end, you're going to come all the way to the end, back stitch, and then come off. So now that we have our plain seam, we have our garment piece, which is blue, and we have our facing piece, which is maroon. In this case, the reason that we use a facing is it's going to allow us to support our garment and give it more stability, because we'll actually be turning this over. And it also gives us that nice clean finish, so you're not seeing any of the raw edges of the seam. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and press this down so that this is going to be on the top portion here. What we want to avoid when we are going to press this over is that you don't want to create it where there's going to be what we like to call little lips, so that there's going to be that gap in between. You want to try to get it so that that seam is right on the edge there, so it's going to make it nice and clean. So once we have pressed it, so now you can see that the clean edge is on top. If I open this up, you're going to see that we have our raw edges on the inside. We are going to be stitching so that the garment piece is on the top. The facing really isn't seen, it's going to be put underneath. So that gives it more support, and it's also going to give that clean edge. Sometimes we see facings used in the yokes of skirts, or this would also be down the front of a shirt where you might see buttons here. So this is going to give that more support. When we are doing a top stitch is something that is going to be more decorative. So you're going to change your stitch length to a 3. The reason that we do this is so that it is more visible, because we're adding decoration to the outside. It gives more appeal when we're looking at a garment from far away. A top stitch is done at a 1/4 inch allowance. So what happens is the best way to do this is you can look at your markings on your needle plate, or a quick tip is that you can line up the edge of the material with the edge of the foot, and that's going to be roughly 1/4 of an inch. When we start, we're going to go ahead, and now that we're at 3, we're going to go straight down. What this does is it's securing the facing and leaving a nice decorative piece. Because we are sewing 2 things together, we have the facing underneath along with the garment. You are going to back stitch at both the front and the back. Once we pull this off, you can see how that individual stitches are a little bit wider, so you can see it along the edge. And now the facing is secured down, so we have a nice finished edge along the top with decorative stitching 1/4 inch from the edge. This is top stitching.